here today with Tathagata Basu, who is the Global Head of Refining and Downstream at Honeywell. To start off, Tathagata, maybe you could tell us a little bit about Honeywell, as well as what you do with the company.
Hi, my name is Tathagata Basu. I have about 25 years experience with Honeywell, living and working with many industry leaders in Asia, Middle East, and North America, helping customers humanize digital technologies for a safe, reliable, and efficient operations. In my current role, I lead global strategy for the refining and downstream energy sector for Honeywell Process Solutions, which is a business within Performance Materials and Technology Strategic Business Group. We provide industrial process automation and digital connected solutions and services to a wide range of sectors. I think of myself as the chief listener, a thought leader, an innovator, and a growth enabler for our downstream customers who are navigating this energy transition while making their operations more and more sustainable and intelligent by adopting digital technologies. One last comment before I go on this, before I finish my answer, is among the many hats I wear, one of the important ones is to look beyond the obvious and find new and implicit needs that can help our customers stay ahead and remain resilient.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So I understand that you are the global head of refining and downstream. And so, of course, you're privy to quite a lot of the industry trends. Could you share a little bit about that, your personal observations with us?
Yeah, the energy sector in general, and most definitely the downstream sector, has been and will continue to see significant changes, and some of it will be quite disruptive. These changes will require new muscle to be built. I will give you three main drivers, not in any particular order though. Sustainability is definitely one of the drivers. Energy transition is going to be a big driver. And as a final key driver, I would say operational excellence through continued digital transformation. Now, let me unpack this a little bit for you. For sustainability, I would say every operator is going to have their own greenhouse gas pathway to net zero goals. And having to do that, they will have to do what I call as a carbon intensity traceability. And that will be a big part for the change in how they operate. On the energy transition side, I see a lot of refineries producing more chemicals than fuels, transforming themselves to producing more sustainable fuels, and also adopting a far more decarbonized energy regime using hydrogen. And on the operations excellence part, I would say they would use a lot of digital technologies to make their operations safer, more cyber secure, more agile, and therefore intelligent.
I see. Just out of curiosity, if you really had to pinpoint one particular key driver out of the three that you've just told me about, which one would you think it would be?
It's a difficult question, Natalie. I have seen many industry leaders calling it differently, but for me, it is a trilemma. It is a trilemma which is going to determine the future of this sector in the next 2 to 3 decades. And the reason I call this a trilemma, it is actually because it's an intersection of three main things, and I cannot really take them apart. One of them is the global energy shortage. Energy transition, geopolitics, rapid urbanization is straining the energy supply, driving record profits for energy companies. And you can see that possibly increasing over the next at least 10 to 20 years.
Mm.
Second one, I would say, is a paradox of greenflation. This is an interesting thing that I'm observing over the last 1 or 2 years. And this is due to all the investments that are going into decarbonization. It's actually putting a lot of pressure on cost. And what that does is it makes coal and other more carbon intensive energy sources to get back into the energy paradigm. So the reason it's a paradox is because you're making all these investments to decarbonize energy. At the same time, you're making it too costly for the not so green energy to come in into the paradigm. The third one, which is part of the trilemma, is a inevitability of a long-term end market disruption. I think nobody can argue with the fact that there is definitely going to be a peak demand coming. We don't know when that is. So transportation fuels are the demand of transportation fuels will eventually kind of peak, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years. But the refineries are going to slowly change over from being fuel producers to petrochemical producers. And therefore, their whole capex and investment hurdle rates will significantly change in the downstream sector.
Well, that's a very interesting term that you coined earlier, greenflation. I don't believe I've heard of that one before.
Yes, it's a term that is not coined by me. It's coined by many authors over the last 3 or 4 months, but it actually signifies what some of these decarbonization investments could eventually do to the cost of every molecule that's being produced.
I see, I see. Well, let's move on a little bit and talk about what Honeywell is doing for the industry. So, can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, with more than half of the refineries and petrochemical plants in the world having some kind of Honeywell solution running for over 5 decades, we have certainly earned the right to be the digital technology leader in this sector. Now, add to that decades of UOP knowledge to draw upon, which makes us quite unique in the industry. With an integrated portfolio of knowledge embedded digital automation solutions, we help our customers build, run, and maintain a safe, efficient, reliable, and very future ready operations. Our cyber secure hardware and software technologies are designed to offer not only day one readiness for the new ventures, but also infinite scalability and availability for our existing users. One of the many things we take pride in is that we never ever leave a customer behind. Our systems have infinite longevity since we ensure our legacy systems coexist and systematically migrate them to newer and more intelligent systems, allowing our users to reduce their total cost of ownership. We call this Honeywell's Intelligent Operations Framework for our downstream customers, which is built upon the four pillars or a 4I principle with the letter I: integration, illustration, interpretation, and being insightful. An integrated architecture is fundamental to intelligent operations. It starts with our foundation and future proof Experion Process Knowledge System or Experion PKS that provides a very scalable, flexible, fault tolerant, and self correcting automation platform for process, safety, and turbo control, and an almost unlimited capacity to integrate several native and third party subsystems. The next two pillars are all about being able to illustrate and interpret real time process and event data. Experion PKS Intelligent Cockpit or EPIC provides an ergonomic Orion console with human centered visual analytics capability. I can talk about intelligent cockpit for a long time, but just one of the innovative capabilities of intelligent cockpit that will be available with our next releases will be the ability for operators to get an augmented look ahead of the future. This feature, called highly augmented look ahead or HALO, will be quite like how you currently use your driving navigation app, be it on your phone or in your vehicle, to see how your drive from point A to point B will look like. How many traffic jams you are likely to see at any given point in your drive, or if there are accidents or a railroad on the way. Halo will empower operators with new information that will significantly minimize disruptions. Now you can see with such powerful capabilities of illustration and integration of real-time data, intelligent operations framework can become insightful enough to provide valuable and actionable insights to the operators. One of the new innovations here is to provide operators an easy and intuitive way for guided diagnostics and accelerated root cause analysis of an abnormal situation. By using an AI engine behind the curtain that works on a constantly learning algorithm, the system provides diagnostics and inferences by ranking possible causes of an abnormal condition. Coming back to the car analogy, it's quite like being able to diagnose any probable malfunction in your car and get guided corrective actions on the fly, or in this case, on the move. That's what we are talking about here, but in the context of mission critical downstream operations. As the AI system learns more and more with the data and the operator validations, this feature not only dramatically improves its ability to perform quick investigations, but also institutionalizes organizational learning. So, in summary, Honeywell's intelligent operations framework helps our refining and downstream customers to be far more and significantly more agile and future ready in this new world of energy transition.
Nice. Well, that's a very interesting concept that you shared with me, the 4I principles. And this just actually, I'd like to tie this back to your own observation you've made a little earlier, which is to look beyond the obvious, especially when it comes to clients' needs and the changing industry. So where do you see Honeywell's evolution down the line, just bringing the two together?
Yeah, Honeywell's commitment to continue to invest in new solutions, both inorganically and organically, remains very strong. So as we look at trends in the market, look at how the industry is moving, we bring in new technologies, both internally with our strong R&D investments, but also inorganically by integrating companies and technologies into our portfolio that makes it strong. As an example, with the recent acquisition of Compressor Controls Corporation, we recognize the continuous need to bring specialty automation and control capabilities of rotating equipments, including compressors, that are critical to operational success in most downstream refining and petrochemical processes, including carbon capture and sequestration. Organically as well, as the downstream sector navigates the trilemma, we at Honeywell are continuously innovating to provide more intelligent and autonomous systems using wireless ubiquitous sensors, virtualized I/O and controllers, digital twins of processes and assets, and last but not the least, explainable AI-based applications that are needed to decarbonize the downstream sector.
I see. Well, this is very interesting that you're talking about this. And I see that it actually ties in quite nicely to the background that you've also chosen for this interview today, which is about decarbonization through digital innovation. Right. Anyway, I think looking back at 2023, we've seen quite a few of the very big changes in the industry. Could you share your thoughts on this?
Yes, I'll give you three big changes that I have seen so far. Carbon intensity of supply chain has become one of the key decision variables in most final investment decisions. It is no longer just capital investment and operating cost. The second thing I would say is the complexity of an operating window is an industry parlance, which basically means how an operator is likely to operate the plant and what limits and conditions they use to operate the plant. And the reason it's getting more and more complex is because of all these evolving greenhouse gas mandates that are coming in. And lastly, but certainly not the least, is a design flexibility mentality that's coming quite fast into the downstream sector. And that is such that the operators can address changing feedstock availability based on carbon footprint. Now, I say this because contrasting this with even a decade ago, I'm seeing a lot of customers looking for an and strategy. Now, what do I mean by an and strategy? For example, they want to make fuels as well as chemicals.
I
They want to
see.
use fossil fuels and renewable energy. They want to use crude as well as biofeeds, et cetera, et cetera. You get my point. There's a lot of thought behind how operators are thinking about adding flexibility into their supply chain.
Interesting. And I think looking to the future, or rather for next year, I will make an educated guess. I think we're going to see a lot more significance placed on this OpEx, especially through digital transformation, which then ties into the flexibility that you're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. Going forward, we should see a lot more tangible investments to decarbonize the downstream value chain. And a lot of it will be tied to digital transformation, which will be necessitated by all these flexibility requirements that will be coming to this industry. We should see a resolve to deploying technology to plan for, monitor, control, optimize, and then even certify carbon intensity of every molecule that's produced and shipped. This will
Right.
require teamwork between policymakers, industry forums, owner operators, and technology leaders like Honeywell to develop and democratize new standards and make each other accountable and responsible for different pathways to net zero.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I think just kind of wrapping up, we're looking forward to the event that's coming up in October, of course, and we're very excited to have you representing Honeywell at this year's Asian Downstream Summit in Singapore. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see or hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to be there. Please join our presentation on next generation of digital solutions for refineries that will address the future needs as we discussed now. Also, please visit the Honeywell booth where we would want to listen to the industry champions. In the booth, we will have representations from Honeywell Process Solutions as well as UOP. We will have consultants demonstrating and explaining our solutions for a digitally enabled, decarbonized refining and downstream sector of the future. But as I will end I'll end the answer to this question by quoting our president and CEO, Mr. Lucien Boldia, who recently used a quote, which I think is going to be a big part of why I will be there and why I want to meet with a lot of people. He says that the tools, the technology, and the willpower are all there. Looking ahead, it's the partnerships that are needed now to unlock the industry's potential. I fully agree with this statement. What I'm looking forward, Natalie, in this event is really to develop and foster some partnerships with not only the owner operators, but also some industry forums and even policymakers. And if we can take a little step forward in this event, I'll consider myself successful.
Thank you very much for that. And I think that concludes the interview. So thank you very much once again for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you.